Hi, it's John from Jon Beer Contracting. We're here in Cornwall, New York at the Fine Homebuilding House for 2023. So obviously things look a little bit different than yesterday. This is sort of the nature of working through the winter. We got about a ½ inch of snow last night, so it's not a big deal for us. It's actually not that cold, but it makes things a little bit more interesting, just how this job is going. So this is the last framing component of the house build, and we're in the beginning stages of it, and it's a really good moment to talk about how a ledger style addition is built. Yesterday we started with the actual ledger itself. This addition is built like a deck. The ledger attaches to the house, and then the framing members of the floor system are supported on that ledger and then posted down onto the 3 footings that you can see behind me. So those 3 footings have been in place for a couple of weeks. They're 30 inches wide, so pretty large and pretty easy for us to lay out onto. You can see on each side of the addition there's 2 LVL beams that are sticking out and resting on a glue lamb. So those 2 LVLs were our first step after the ledger. They create the 2 sides of the square. So we got those in place, we roughly squared them and temporarily posted those. And then from there we spent the rest of the day working on getting the glue lamb in place and eventually getting the 6x6 columns down onto the footings. That took the bulk of the afternoon. We've got those in place now. Everything has been plumbed and leveled. From this point forward, we're ready to start framing the rest of the floor system. The structure is stable, so now we'll add a couple more LVLs on each side and then start infilling I-joists to start building out the floor system. Then once they're all in place, we'll snap a line across them, cut them all to length in one place. The reason we do that is because I don't really know how square the existing house is, and this lets us adjust that after the fact rather than cutting all the joists first and having something be wonky or out of square. In a situation like this with a retrofit, that's how we would do that. We're going to be framing 2x6 walls on the actual addition once we get the soffits down, and then just like the rest of the project, we're cladding it with the 7/16 zip. We're going to be using their product exclusively on the walls and the roof for the whole house. Behind me, what you see are 3 openings that are covered in zip sheathing. Those are the locations of pre-existing doors and windows that we're planning to close off throughout our build. It's a small detail, but it's an important one, which is how we fill back in that masonry that's there. The existing structure has a 2x4 wood framing, a fiberboard sheathing, and then a 1-inch air gap between the sheathing and the existing single width veneer brick. So those veneer bricks aren't floating on their own. Every couple of courses they have a metal masonry tie embedded into the mortar that goes and connects to the existing sheathing. So that detail is something that we're going to match as we fill in. For now, we've pulled the old doors and windows out. We've filled in the framing. We've added zip sheathing in place of fiberboard because we're working in not 1945. And we've applied the zip flashing tape on the edge where the two substrates meet. So from there, we'll just carry over the same detail. We'll be recycling bricks from other parts of the project so that they match and laying in new courses of brick, keying in new to old, and adding masonry ties that will get fastened to the sheathing there. So we're maintaining the air gap. We're giving our new infill brick the same opportunity to dry on both sides of the wall and maintaining the look of the existing structure. So you can see it probably looks a little bit funny. Behind me, the new wall intersects directly on an existing window in the house. That window is going to be removed, and in its place is going to be a 3/0 wide door that lets out directly onto this deck. So the space behind me in the original house is going to be kitchen and dining, and the reason why we're adding a door there is that in case someone is using this new living room, they can come out directly from the kitchen onto the deck and outside without disturbing someone that might be using that space. So our plan with that is to basically figure out exactly where the far edge of the door is and cut the brick straight up all the way to soffit where the masonry ends. But that clean cut will get us an exact location for the outside of that new door. I asked a fellow carpenter to come up for 2 days down from New Jersey and give us a hand framing the roof and walking us through the basics of roof rafter layout, roof framing math. So we started off with like a 2.5-hour classroom portion this morning where we walked through kind of the philosophy of roof framing and the basics of how you calculate things and why things are done certain ways. And then from there, we translated that over into making our rafter template and then batching out all the rafters for the roof. In this case, we were able to go through the different principles of rise and run, our height above plate number, our bearing number, and put all of that together and then cut the first couple rafters. We were able to check it, everything fit really well, and from there we knew that everything would be good after that. Some of the valley framing is going to be a little bit more mentally challenging, just in the sense that you're introducing a compound angle because you're applying a valley plate onto a pitched surface already and then having to extrapolate between, those points in 3 dimensions, whereas the common rafters are a straight triangle that sits flat on the wall. What I've come to realize as a boss is that everyone learns really differently. It'll be interesting to see, and probably a little bit challenging, to make sure everyone kind of comes up at the same level and understands the concepts as we kind of lay them all out. And I think the challenge there is just getting through that, making sure everyone gets it, and not rushing that part, but balancing that with like us being all together here and wanting to try and get that accomplished by the end of the day. We were able to take that knowledge and kind of put it right to work, and I think it'll be something that sticks with us in the future as we do some more of this kind of work. Thanks for joining us here at the FHB House 2023 here in Cornwall, and we'll see you for the next episode.